I'm Brent McHale. I'm a horticulturist here at the Gardens, and this year I am the Gardens Aglow designer, and I've helped to oversee the design of all 650,000 lights. Looking at Gardens Aglow as a whole, it takes us roughly 10 to 11 weeks to kind of get the full show finalized and ready. This year we've had so many different people helping out, which has been phenomenal. We've had the Hort department is kind of the big push behind the Gardens Aglow. They spend much of their time 2 to 3 days a week, starting in September, going all the way through roughly the week of Thanksgiving. Then we have all staff, all of our year-round staff, as well as our seasonals who stay on. They've been coming out and giving shifts, putting in shifts and helping us hang lights. And it's been much more efficient this year and kind of been going much more smoother, but it still takes an army of people. And this year we've expanded the show with many more structures and tunnels and just many more things which have taken a lot more lights and time. We have roughly 700 trees and shrubs and plants that we put lights on this year. We've constructed over 250 flowers, which have taken up about 75,000 lights. And we've also, last year we had a tunnel, a roughly 100-foot tunnel, and it was such a big hit that this year we've expanded upon that and built 2 more tunnels. So now we're up to about 300 feet of tunnels, which have roughly 60,000 lights on them, so about 20,000 lights per tunnel, give or take. We had started building flowers last year, but they were much smaller and we just didn't have the time to really expand upon that. So this year I was like, okay, I really want to go full force into the kind of botanical theme. So the flowers that we kind of settled on were sunflowers slash kind of a daisy flower, and then we have coneflowers and lupin slash foxglove. They can kind of look like either depending on the color. And then we also have the allium flowers as well as a kind of bunched flower. I'd say our most common wrapping technique is probably the fairy lighting. And it's partly because here in Maine and at the Gardens we have a lot of evergreens. And fairy lighting is kind of just a dainty, almost kind of how you wrap your Christmas tree, just kind of dainty lights just to fill the whole tree, and just a simple kind of branch, wrap around the branch, go to the next one, and just kind of fill the tree with lights so you can't necessarily see the strands and it just looks like a perfectly lit evergreen. We can also do an overlap fairy light, which is just kind of 2 colors on that evergreen, and they kind of just blend together, and the goal is to make it look like one strand. Blends only happen on either very large tall trees where you have a lot of like 30 feet plus where you have a lot of trunk to work with, or on small to medium deciduous trees where you kind of have branches and enough length where you can play with, because ideally you want the blend to be anywhere from like 3 to 10 feet. So you just need enough room to kind of get those colors to blend from one to the next. And you can't blend all colors together. Some of them are just so opposite that they just don't blend very well and they just look like their own thing. But like pink and purple is a good one that kind of blends very nicely, blue and purple especially. Overlaps can kind of be done on any type of tree. They're easiest on large trunks, and then it really, you can really get the overlap to be really perfect, and it looks like it's one strand, which is the goal. To determine which trees need lifts, it kind of depends on the height and location. But the lifts are generally used on our very tall, I would say 20 or 15 feet plus actually, because the tallest ladder we have is a 15-footer. So anything 14 feet and above is kind of what we use a lift on. And we usually have 2 people per lift, partly for safety reasons, and it's just easier. 1 person driving, 1 person wrapping, and then the driver usually can get the strands ready for the person wrapping. One of the other positives of the drive-through event is that we are not trampling our gardens as much because most of the show is in the parking lots. So it's not as detrimental to the plantings that we are stepping around, laying the power cords, lighting the trees, and it's kind of nice to give the trees in the garden, in the main campus of the gardens, a break.